Hi guys, my name is Dave Jamat. I am the creator of the FractalPlus software and FractalPlus.com. I have created this video tutorial in order to help new users of FractalPlus gain an understanding of the technology behind the software. It will explain the details of how FractalPlus works and how it can help you in your trading. And even if you're not a current user of the software, you may find this tutorial valuable, as I will cover some fractal trading strategies that you can apply to your trading and that will help you gain an edge in the markets. But first, a quick disclaimer. Trading has a potential for big reward, but also has the potential for large risks. Past performance is no guarantee of future results, and when hypothetical results are shown, they are made with the benefit of hindsight. So they might not work going forward, and that is important to keep in mind. And of course, all the trading decisions that you make should be your own. Before I go further, I would like to give credit to a few people who have been influential in the development of the fractal trading approach upon which FractalPlus is based: Bill Williams and Hank Wernicke. If you haven't read Bill Williams' book, Trading Chaos, I would highly recommend getting a copy, as he writes a lot about fractals and their application to trading. I think it's an excellent book. I have an electronic copy myself, but you can easily find it online. Hank Wernicke has spent more than a dozen years using fractals to identify market tops and bottoms, as well as offering an E-mini trading alerts service, which is a subscription service. I would recommend checking out his website and service at elliottfractals.com, which I have here. Although the FractalPlus software was built independently of both of these guys, the ideas and inputs I've obtained from these sources have been invaluable in many of the concepts behind FractalPlus. And the success of Hank's E-mini trading alert service has proven that trading based upon market fractals is not only less complicated than many other indicator-based trading approaches, but can be very profitable as well. Now, a bit of background about fractals. The concept that makes fractal-based trading successful is the fact that all markets are fractal. Well, what does that mean? The famous mathematician Benoit Mandelbrot coined the word fractal back in 1975. Now, the dictionary definition of fractal goes something like this: fractals are rough or fragmented geometric shapes that can be divided into parts. These subparts have the characteristics of being similar to or a reduced copy of the whole. Funny thing is, during a lecture in 2006, Mandelbrot said fractals are beautiful, damn hard, and increasingly useful. So not the most scientific definition from a mathematician, but pretty true. So when I say that fractal-based trading can be a success because all markets are fractal, what I mean is that all markets have self-similar characteristics. And I guess I can also say that all markets are beautiful, damn hard, and increasingly useful. Now, the cool thing is that fractals are also found widely in nature. Trees, flowers, snowflakes, clouds, they all have fractal self-similarity. I just kind of pulled up a list of fractals that can be found in natural forms here, and you can see vegetables, tree branches, some things that perhaps we recognize. This looks somewhat familiar to me, but I think broccoli is one of the vegetables that is commonly associated with a fractal structure, just because you could rip off a leg of that broccoli and it will look very similar to the whole thing. It kind of looks like a tree, actually. So you get an idea of the self-similar characteristics. So, for example, if you did have a tree here, this is a great example. You can take a branch of a tree and it looks like a reduced copy of the entire tree because it has its own branches with self-similar shape and location to that of the original branches of the tree. The market is quite the same. Price patterns will develop on a daily or weekly chart, which are similar to those found on other time frames. Many of the same patterns can be found on tick charts, which is as far as you can drill down in terms of price. In addition, price patterns will often replicate on the same time frame. Even if you were to focus on just a 5-minute chart, you will see many of the same market patterns repeat over and over again on that chart alone. So this characteristic self-similarity of the markets is exactly what FractalPlus was built to help you identify and exploit in your trading, because it shows you when market behavior which happened in the past is happening again. Kind of, as you see on the home page here, this market behavior happened here, it caused a top and it dropped, same thing here. And it shows you exactly when it is happening. You can take advantage of it at that exact point. If the market is forming a top as it did before, it will show you. If it's forming a bottom as it did sometime before, it'll show you. Now, these copies of market behavior, if you want to call them that, these copies are not exact. Wouldn't that be easy if every time the market was reaching a top or a bottom, it looked exactly like the last time? And if you could trade it the exact same way every single time, wow, instant wealth, right? That would just be a little too cool, but unfortunately that's not how the markets work. Again, one of the characteristics of fractals is not that they are exact, but they are self-similar. And that's what makes them damn hard, I guess you can say, because it's hard to find them because they're similar, but they're not exact. And of course, with this self-similarity, you don't get the guarantee of exact behavior afterwards, but you do get a high probability that the behavior is going to follow on as it did before. And high probability is exactly what you need in order to develop a market edge and a winning strategy. So, what does FractalPlus actually do? Let me go ahead here and load it. And by the way, I should show you that you can actually go to the FractalPlus site and click on the download link here at any time. We do offer a free trial so that you can actually review the software and kind of get an idea of how it works. It allows you to use it on a end-of-day basis with free Yahoo end-of-day data. So if you're just kind of looking to get a feel for how the software works, you can go ahead and fill in all the information here. Click Get Download Link, and you'll receive a link to download the software and install it to your email. And once you've downloaded it, you can kind of follow along throughout this video with some of what we're going to talk about here. But the download copy is only an end-of-day version. If you do want to upgrade, you can definitely contact us and you can get a real-time version, which will show you shorter-term intraday data on the screen. Okay, so let me switch back over here to the software itself. I'm going to load the E-mini, the futures contract, which is the current contract. It's ESZ3. This being November 2013, this is the current futures contract, and it's the 15-minute chart. So when you load a price chart, what FractalPlus will do is it will go back through all the data, and as you can tell, obviously we had a lot of data loaded on the screen. It'll go back through all the data and find sets of turning points based on the closing price of the individual bar. So it's going to find sets of 5 turning points, as you can see here. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit more. You can see here you've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each one of the turning points between the 0 and the 1 is considered 1 turning point, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 5 turning points in the market, and it will compare all of them on this chart until it finds similarity between them. And based on the program settings, it will identify sets of fractals that are similar and highlight them on the chart for you. Then, using proper market entry and money management techniques, you can use these fractals to help you identify high probability winning trades. Now, what is actually happening behind the scenes is that FractalPlus is running thousands of computations based on the market data on the screen. And there are literally thousands of similarities that it finds, but based upon its internal filtering technology and the program settings, only the most similar and the most relevant fractals are displayed. And if you use the software long enough, you will begin to see some of the same price action patterns appear over and over again. Now, there are a couple of very important things that you need to know about fractals and their application to the markets. As I stated earlier, fractals are found in nature, and despite the fact that they may have a fragmented appearance or may look slightly disorganized or even chaotic, many fractal theorists believe that fractals actually are in fact a higher form of order. And when you group large amounts of naturally occurring things, fractal patterns tend to emerge kind of organically, I guess you can say. So this is something to consider when looking at markets to trade using fractals. FractalPlus will identify fractal patterns in equity charts, forex charts, and futures charts based upon price data. And we have developed fractal-based trading strategies that can work for all three. So it doesn't matter what you pull up, it'll actually find the fractal matches there and display them for you. But it is important to trade liquid markets with the fractal-based approach. The technology works very well with active liquid markets, but it is much harder to apply to thinly traded markets. And of course, think about it. The reason is that when the trading volume is lower, the same underlying market behavior may be there, but it is harder to identify because maybe there are price gaps, maybe there are time bars that are missing because there were no actual trades during a given period. Things like this will limit the number and quality of the fractals that may be found by the software. So I would definitely recommend that you use the software to identify fractals in highly liquid markets. For example, the S&P E-mini futures contract, which is what I have here. This is otherwise known as the ES, or any other actively traded futures contracts like gold, silver, crude oil, etc. Or perhaps more actively traded stocks like Apple. I could pull up an Apple chart, current Apple chart here. Zoom in a little bit. See some fractals being displayed there. For example, the euro-dollar forex is another great example where we should be able to find some fractals pretty quickly here. Zoom in a little bit. There you go. So you kind of get the idea that you will see fractals on pretty much any chart of anything that you pull up. But again, the recommendation is that you should focus on highly liquid markets. It's just going to help your trading, particularly since for a lot of folks this is a new technology, new approach to the markets. Also, as with anything else in trading, please keep in mind that fractals are not a holy grail of trading. I certainly am not promoting it as such. I imagine if you have found us in the first place and have listened to the video thus far, you're probably not one of those people who are looking for a get-rich-quick product that guarantees success, but instead you understand that trading success is very much based upon probabilities. And if you have a good method which gives you an edge, your probability of success increases. And if your method is poor, then the opposite is true. So the fractal approach to trading does not guarantee 100% winners. You cannot just look at a chart and see a fractal and know 100% that it is a fractal top or a fractal bottom. But it does give you very high probability setups, the fractals that is, and if you follow some of what I will show you later in this tutorial, you can increase your probability of success trading fractals. So I'd like to kind of review how the software works, what some of the menu items are, and then later on I can get into the different trading approaches that you can use. So I'm going to switch back to the ES chart that I started out with here. And we can go over a few basic functionality things that you can do with FractalPlus. First, you have the file menu. And using this menu, you can load symbols, which we kind of showed you already here, and select the time frame to review. One of the things that we built into the application early on was the ability to load a prior time frame. So as this is new software, it's a new technology, and you're trading with it, you want to sometimes be able to go back and look at, well, how did these fractals perform in history? How did this software work yesterday, for example. So by offering you some options here that you can check and say, you know what, I want to load yesterday's data. Today's the 25th of November, so maybe I want to just load everything through, well, let's go back to Friday since it's Monday, the 22nd of November, and the software will load up through that date. And that gives you an opportunity to kind of review. Let's see what happened on Friday. And here you have a chart of Friday's price action. So right next to the symbol field is a button. And if you click on that, you can select a flat file that has the format of date, time, open, high, low, close, and volume. Let's try to, there's an example of a flat file here from 2005. This is the ES. In fact, I can show you what that looks like format wise. There you go, date, time, open, high, low, close, volume. So this file is just basically a flat file you can open up in Excel, or you can just open it up in a text editor like I have here, and we can open that file and it'll actually show the dates. It'll actually load the file and show you the dates, the date ranges that are within that file, and then you can select to view only a part of it. Say, for example, instead of going from from December of 2004 to March 2005, if you uncheck this, it'll load a default amount of time based on the time frame that you're looking at. So for 5 minutes, it's going to load about 3 weeks of data, and then we can click OK. And it pulls up that chart. This is actually a 2005 chart. So if you're using NinjaTrader or TradeStation and you want to view that, the same data that you're seeing in those applications within FractalPlus, once you export the data from those applications to a flat file format, then you can import them here. Now let's go back in. You'll also find that there's a Find Best Fractal checkbox here. First, before I do that, I want to go back to the current E-mini chart of 2013, and then if we were to check that box, which says Find Best Fractal, it's going to look through a series of charts: the 5-minute, the 10-minute, 13-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute, 60-minute, 2-hour or 120-minute, and 4-hour or 240-minute charts. So it's going to look through all of these charts and load a chart from one of those time frames, and it will load the chart with an in-progress fractal that currently has the most similarity to its base. So it basically does a scan for you and uncovers the time frames with the best looking current in-progress fractal. So I'm going to go ahead and check that, and let's see what it finds this time here. Currently we were looking at 5-minute, and what it's found is that, oh wow, look at that, the 60-minute or 1-hour chart is the fractal that looks the best to the software, but also is, hasn't completed yet, and that's what yellow means, and we'll get into the details of what that is a little bit later. You can also select the frequency manually. You don't need to check the Find Best Fractal option. You can say, as we've done before here, you can say, I want to see the 30-minute chart, or I want to see a 15-minute chart, or you can even pull up some oddball charts like 17-minute chart if you want to. No restrictions there. It's just what we have found is that the trading on the more standard time frames, the fractals tend to have a higher probability of success. But that's not to take away from trading on other time frames. I've actually myself done successful trades on 13-minute charts, for example. So let's go back in here. The check boxes on the left of the dates are the start and end dates and the start and end times, and kind of showed you that a minute ago. But if you want to start at a different time, say for example you're loading, like we said here, the 17-minute chart, but you want to see it start from, instead of October 1st, you want to start from November 1st. You can use these check boxes to do that. You can also start from a different time of day just by checking the time, and that applies to both of these. You can start, and then of course on this side you've got just some hot buttons that allow you to quickly set it to the current time or the beginning of the day or the end of the day. It's just a little, quickie there that you can do. So if you leave these unchecked, which is probably what you typically want to do if you're loading a current chart, again, we can load the 15-minute chart, then it's just going to use up to the current time frame. There won't be a limit. It'll just keep adding bars as time moves on. Okay. So then under the file menu, again, we have save as image as a second option there. You can definitely take a snapshot of the screen at any time just by doing that. File save as image, type in the name that you want to use and hit save, and it'll save what you're visually seeing on the screen to the drive. Under the view menu, there are several options here. I'm just going to try to go through these pretty quickly. Some of them are somewhat self-explanatory, but you have the ability to add and remove grid lines. You can change the scaling of the chart from linear to semi-log. You can add 3D style. Actually, it doesn't have much functionality, and I believe we've actually removed this option in the next release. But you can also add and remove the crosshairs, tick boxes, and panel titles. That's pretty self-explanatory what those do. Adding the crosshairs back. Tick boxes is really just to show you what the current bid ask is here, and the panel titles are just the separators between the different panels there on the chart. You also have the real-time x-axis. It's going to leave the date and time at the bottom of the screen and keep it up to date, and if you remove it, it will remove that. So it's better to keep that checked. The info panel submenu, which is here, contains options for the yellow and white box that contains the details about specific bars, and it's kind of like this box here. So you can keep the panel in one location by choosing static, which I believe is what we've got here. Yeah, so it's set to static by default. So whatever location it is, it'll stay there as the chart updates. You can, however, move it around and then it stays there. You can also hide it by choosing hidden, so it will never show up, or you can select follow the mouse so that it'll show up only when you click on a specific bar. There we go. You got to click and hold. So if you click on a specific bar, you can actually even drag through and see the different high-low close prices for those bars. There's some other options here. You can change the color, background, foreground, font size, and name. You can do some things to make it a little bit different, and I think I've hidden it now, so I should probably, there you go. Yeah, so if you select background and foreground, it'll just toggle between two different types of colors, and you can also make it quite a bit bigger. For some reason you're taking a snap of the screen and you're saving it and you won't really want to see that, you can do that, and then hitting it again will make it small again. The retained zoom level will retain the level of zoom as you load new charts, so that's a good one. And then before I explain the panel min max, I'd like to show you that you can change the scaling on the X and Y axis on the chart simply by clicking on those axes and dragging the mouse. So you can just kind of go like this, if you really want to change those axes, and then same thing here. Oops, gotta click on the right spot. There you go. So right where the date is, you can click and drag those. You can also zoom in using these hot buttons, or zoom out. And if you've goofed the chart up too much and it's you've zoomed in way too much, for example, you can click on reset zoom and it'll take the chart back to the way it was when it was originally loaded. So that kind of gives you an idea. And then again, the reason that we have this panel min max is to, you can set it to a specific number, which probably won't use that much, but you can always reset it and it'll actually bring the chart back into the normal view. So if you've totally change things so much that it's not normal looking, you can just click reset and it'll come back into normal view. The styles menu, I think by default the bar style is set to line, and that is just to give you a quick visualization of the fractal that's in progress. It's easier to see because we're calculating the fractals based on the closing prices of the bars. However, you can change them to standard bars, which is what most people are used to seeing, or maybe the candlestick bar. And those options are also available here just very quickly. So you can switch back to line, standard, candle from here. Under the colors, you can add and change colors. Some of these menu options have changed in the upcoming release. So I would say get familiar with them, but perhaps don't get too attached to them because they are changing a little bit. Under the line studies menu, we have a number of tools that you can add to the chart. Some of these are just things that perhaps you find in other charting applications. Really, FractalPlus is built around the fractal analysis method and trading approach. So we don't have a lot of the tools perhaps you might find in TradeStation or NinjaTrader, for example, but we've added a few here. So I will not review each one in this video tutorial, but most operate the same way. As a quick example, I will apply a trend line here to the chart simply by selecting trend line and then clicking on the chart and dragging your mouse and letting go. That's it. So that kind of gives you an idea. Under the fractals menu, this menu option allows you to clear all the fractals from the chart or to run the identify routine to reapply the fractals to the chart. You may want to do this, say for example, if you are taking a snapshot again of the chart. You maybe want to snap it without the fractals, save it, save that image to disk, and then snap it again with the fractals. So we can clear them, we can add them back pretty easily. There's also another option here for the polarized fractal efficiency indicator, which is a technical indicator developed by Hans Hanula. We have found that this indicator seems to complement the fractal trading approach quite well, so we've added it here. All you have to do is click add and hit OK, and it will show you the indicator results here. If you're curious to learn more about how that particular indicator works, you can do a quick search on Google, and I'm sure you can find a lot of information about the polarized fractal efficiency indicator. Also, let's take a quick look at the historical fractal view functionality. I'm gonna remove this from the chart, and just so we can zoom in a little bit more, I'm gonna pull this down, the volume down a little bit. Okay, and move this out of the way. Okay, so you can browse through historical fractals by using the left and right arrows that you find up at the top of the screen, or the slider bar. And just to make it a little bit easier to see, I'm going to turn it back to a line chart, and you can scroll back through all the historical fractals that are being displayed just by clicking there or dragging this slider. Okay. Also, there is a checkbox next to the slider here, and when this box is checked, the current fractal will always appear on the far right end of the chart. So you see that here, even though we're looking at this fractal in history, this fractal here in yellow is still being displayed. If we uncheck that, then it'll only display the historical fractal. The reason for that is that sometimes if you're looking at fractals that are very close together, for example, we'll zoom this here, you'll notice that there's an overlap, and even if you zoom in, you still can't figure out what's what because the fractals are kind of coming in so fast they're overlaying each other. So you can uncheck this and you can see, okay, this is the fractal that occurred just prior to the current fractal, and you can either check that to see the current one right next to it, or you can just scroll forward and you'll see the current one, the most recent fractal there. So that kind of helps just for viewing purposes. Okay, then we have the tools menu. This will display a dialog box which will give you some options that you can change. There are basically two tabs. One is for the data feed settings, and one is for the fractal identification settings. The data feed tab is where you select the data provider, and if you've downloaded the free trial, you'll probably only have this option Yahoo set for you. In the download version, you can select bar chart, TD Ameritrade, or Yahoo. There's an option for text file, but this option is a future use only option and should not be selected. In the 1.0 release, bar chart is our primary real-time data provider. In our testing, we have found that their data is very good. It's clean, it's fast. So we always recommend that you select bar chart if you're looking for real-time data. We have provided the TD Ameritrade as an alternative real-time data provider, but you need to know a few things about this data provider. TD Ameritrade provides an API that we use to access the data via your account settings. The nice thing about it is that it is enabled when your TD Ameritrade account is activated, and it's free of charge to use, so you can pull data right out of your TD Ameritrade chart. The bad thing is that if you have turned on futures trading at any time within your TD Ameritrade account, they automatically disable the API from providing data to us. So you cannot use this for any data if you are trading futures from within your TD Ameritrade account. If you have not traded futures within your account at any time, then you're fine, and you'll be able to pull equity futures and forex charts, and it won't cost you a dime, which is great. But if you've ever traded futures, then they turn it off. So I know it's strange, and I apologize, but these are not FractalPlus limitations. It's just how TD Ameritrade, their API works. So we really don't have much of an option there. But in addition, we have found that while testing their data, there appear to be many more errors in the data itself than the data we receive from bar chart. So the quality of their data is not on par with our other data provider. Just, I want you to be aware of these limitations if you do decide to use TD Ameritrade as your data provider. Sometimes you'll see spikes in the data. Sometimes you might see, missing bar data. It's not the most reliable data provider, so I just want to put that out there. Kind of use it at your own risk if you are using it as your real-time data provider. Yahoo, of course, is another provider that you can select for free end-of-day data. And as I mentioned before, this is the free option that comes with the demo from our website. One of the limitations with Yahoo data is that the forex symbols that you can use on their website, on the Yahoo Financials website, they don't work with the API that we have access to. So for Yahoo setting, that's only if you're using end-of-day data again, and if it's equity symbols. So once you've selected the data provider, you can enter the username and password, and particularly in the case of bar chart, you do need to enter the username and password. Yahoo, you don't, but those fields are there anyway. The directory field should be left blank. This field is just for future use. And also the broker fields below should be left blank, again, for future use. Now let's take a look at the Fractals tab. This tab contains settings for how fractals are calculated and displayed. The first area at the top allows you to select which type of fractals will be displayed. By checking the boxes, you're telling the program to only identify fractals that have one or more of the checked fractal points as an extreme high or low. So what we have here is we're saying, only show a fractal if it has either an F3 or an F5 as an extreme high or low. And you can kind of see that as an example over here. This fractal has an F3 as an extreme, or an F5. Actually, both of those are good examples. That's the reason it's displayed. There are so many fractals that the software finds. We added this as a limitation so it doesn't get overwhelming. Literally, the market is so self-similar that if I turned all these checkboxes on, you'd see fractals on pretty much every single turning point would show you something. So you do want to, when you start trading with the fractals, you do want to limit it a little bit so you get a little bit of a better chance to get familiar with it before you go in here perhaps and turn it on, perhaps all of them on, so you can see all of the different fractals that do appear. Okay, the area below, which is titled Fractal Analysis Display, it contains settings for match variance, historical fractals, for display and maximum look back bars. So match variance tells the software how much of a difference between the base and the current fractal is allowed for it to consider it a match. So in this case, it's saying if there's 3% or less difference between the two fractals, then display it as a match and actually display that particular fractal. So if a fractal had a 6% difference from its base, it would not display it in this case. We find that the fractal matching algorithm will find matches that look similar to the human eye up to about 3 or 4%. Beyond about 4%, fractals start looking more and more similar to the program. So it doesn't matter what you're looking at, visually at least, they're going to look very much alike. So to have the program provide a reasonable number of matches without going overboard, we recommend experimenting with settings between 2 and 3%. If you definitely want only the best visual matches, you can drop it down below 2%, and you'll only see fractals that look very similar visually to each other. But then again, that also means you're going to see less fractals on the chart. They'll show up less frequently just because it's only finding the most similar matches. This may be desirable if you wish to enter the market less frequently. However, I will say that in our testing, we have found that when you set this number to between 2 and about 4%, the software will find fractals that may not look as similar to the human eye, but they perform about as well, from a probability standpoint, as those exact match fractals when this value is set to 1%. So in terms of probabilities, there is some value in setting a higher setting here and seeing a few more fractals as a result. And I can just kind of show you here. For example, if I set this to 1.0, you do need to reload the chart once you set it. You'll see that the fractal that it had on the screen before, it doesn't have now, just because that wasn't as big of a match as this one is. And as you can tell here, that looks pretty similar. The shape of this behavior looks pretty similar to that one. If I go back here again, visually that shape looks pretty close, and can't seem to get both of those on the screen. Let's see, maybe if I go like this. But yeah, you can see that the shapes are very similar there. So that's what 1% does. I'll go back in and change it again back to the original setting. Okay, so the next section is the historical fractals for display. This value determines how many historical fractals you want the program to hold in memory, so you can go back and review them using the left and right arrow buttons and the slider, which is up here. You can increase this value when you are doing research so that you can scroll back through more and more fractals when you load a given chart, but always set this figure to a lower value like 80 or 100 if you are focused on real-time fractals or are actually trading. The reason is because the higher this value, the more memory the fractals take up, and this will put a load on the computer when you are only really interested in seeing the real-time fractals during your trading. So adjust this value up when you're doing research, then reset it to a lower value when you want to go back to actual trading. Okay, now the last option here is the maximum look back bars, and this is a simple setting that tells the software to look back X number of bars to find a match to the current fractal. You can see how many bars are loaded in your current chart by looking at the chart title at the top of the screen. So for example, here it says 480. So if you load a chart with, if this particular one is set to 500 bars, there's only 480 bars loaded. So it's going to look back through all of the data that's loaded to find matches. On the other hand, if you were to load a chart that had 1,000 bars, or you loaded 2,000 bars of history, it's only going to look at the most the most recent 500 bars to find matches, or whatever your setting is here. So I think a good setting is probably somewhere between 500 and 1,000, just from a from the computational standpoint. You don't want to put too much load on the CPU, but personally I use 500, but you can experiment with various settings. So whenever you make a change here, you can just click OK, and then of course you've got to reload the chart for that change to take effect. Okay, now I think we're ready to take a look at some of the trading strategies you can apply to your trading while using FractalPlus. We've already talked about the fact that the market has self-similar behavior, and the market makes similar price patterns over and over and over again. So, you've heard the saying, I'm sure, buy low, sell high, and it's probably been used so much that it's too much, but that is exactly what you need to do to be successful in the market. And that is what FractalPlus helps you to do. The 5-way patterns that it shows on the screen by displaying the F0 through F5 only appear when a full 5-way pattern match is near completion. When you see a fractal on the screen, it is only there because there is a matching base fractal. So for example, here, this fractal is only here because it was able to find a similarity here. So it was able to go back through all this data and say, oh, well, look at this. This basic pattern looks very much similar to that. Same thing moving forward. This fractal is only here because it has found, a similar fractal in history. I'm going to go ahead and reload this chart and as a 15-minute chart so we can just see a few more examples. Okay, so when the software finds a full 5-way pattern match that is in progress, such as this one, it will display the fractal in yellow. Now, we've kind of covered a lot of stuff, but why did we choose to display a fractal after 5 waves? Well, if you are familiar with the Elliott wave principle, you know that collective investor psychology or crowd psychology moves from optimism to pessimism in a natural 5-way sequence. If you're not familiar with the Elliott wave principle, I would recommend Googling it and learning more about it, as it is a great foundation to a basic understanding of market principles. Now, once the 5-wave fractal has confirmed, the F0 to F5 will turn blue. Now, confirmation simply means that the fractal is a complete match because the 5-way pattern has completed. And if it is a F5 top, the fractal confirms when there is a lower close following the F5. On the other hand, if the market continues closing higher, the fractal will remain yellow in an unconfirmed state until there is a lower close. So, for example, in this case, we're looking at an F5 top here. It's not a significant one in terms of being a super peak, but it is a fractal match, and the software has not confirmed this yet because we're looking for a lower close. If we scroll back, let's take a look at a different F5 top. Say, for example, this one. This F5 top confirmed at some point in the past, and of course that's the reason it is in a gray color, because it's in the past. And you can see that it confirmed because we had the peak and then we had a lower close here, and that's what resulted in it changing colors. So that's kind of what we're looking at for this current fractal. Right now it hasn't confirmed because we haven't gotten a lower close. Now if the market could continue to close higher, as you can see it just ticked down there, but the market could continue to close higher and higher and higher, and this would continue to stretch out as long as it continued to match the base fractal, which is back here. It'll continue to show up as a F5 top. But if for example this continued to stretch up and up and up all the way up to 1808, it may no longer match the base fractal, and then it would disappear from the chart. So there's kind of two options there when you're looking at a fractal. It could confirm after a lower close in the case of a top, or the market may continue to rise higher and higher and higher to the point where the fractal no longer matches and it will disappear from the screen. So that's something to keep in mind. And that's one of the reasons from a trading perspective, which again we'll talk about later, it can be in your advantage to wait for the confirmation, wait for that fractal to have a lower close, because that may indicate that the market, is getting weaker, and then we could see lower prices from there. If you don't wait for confirmation, you may be taking the risk that this is going to continue higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, and you're not giving a chance, for an actual turn down in the market at that point. Okay, and of course all of this applies in reverse to F5 bottoms, which you see here. For example, maybe I can give you a better example if we scroll back here. This is a nice example of an F5 bottom where the market came to a peak, and then it turned and started to make higher closes, and from that point on it just kept going higher, all the way from 1800 all the way up to 1805 so far now. So this is a good example on this 15-minute chart. Now, as I explained before, once a new fractal appears, the prior fractal will turn gray and go into the history, which is kind of what we see here. This is a historical fractal, and you can browse through those, again, using this slider and these buttons at the top. One thing I didn't mention earlier is that you've got these kind of two sets of dates at the top, one with an F and one with a B. The top one is labeled F and has the date and price of the current fractal that's in view. So this particular fractal happened at 5:30, and it had the ending price of 1802.25, so 1802 and a quarter. The bottom date labeled B shows you the date of the base fractal. So that happened, the fractal that it matched occurred on November 21st, and we can kind of scroll back and see that, yeah, that was November 21st. If we bring this over here, we can see that it was, yes, in fact, 7:15 a.m. Okay. Now, there are two basic trading strategies that can be employed using FractalPlus. The first approach is to look for fractals which appear around price areas where the market has shown support or resistance previously. If the market had resistance there previously, then you can look to short there using the current fractal. If the market found support there previously, then you can look to go long using the current fractal. This is a counter trend trading strategy as you're looking for the trend to reverse, and perhaps in some cases you're looking for a short-term scalp. You're going to pick up 1 or 2 points, or you may be looking at it as a longer term. Of course, it's going to depend on your trading style, what type of market you're trading, as well as how high level you're trading, whether you're trading on the 5-minute chart or you're trading on a 4-hour chart, for example, or a daily chart. After you enter the market, you can place a stop on the other side of the fractal's confirmed price. So I'll give you an example here. Let's load Friday's data and take a look, because the market was kind of a little bit range bound on Friday. So if we look at kind of early morning Friday, we kind of see this area here where prices were kind of stuck within a trading range, and if we scroll back through that time, we'll see that there were pretty good opportunities to trade within that trading range using fractals. So for example, as I mentioned, part of the strategy is to find an area where the market had found support or resistance previously, and then look for the fractal to develop, and then once the fractal confirms, you enter the market. So here the market stopped here approximately at 17.95 and a quarter, and then it started to come back all the way back down here. It was retracing some of its prior move up, and then it found some support here at 17.92 and a quarter. So that was kind of the first time that we had gotten to 17.92 and a quarter. Perhaps you wouldn't take that trade just because there's really not too much prior history in that area, at least within today's data. But we know that when it goes back up to 17.95 and a quarter, that, it found some resistance there. There was a trading range in this area, and it proved to be pretty solid, pushing prices back at least 3 points. So when the price of the ES moves back to the top of this range, if there's a fractal there, that may be a good place to short. And let's see what happened here. There was a fractal there, and it turns out that it was a couple ticks higher than previously. Here it was at 17.95 and a quarter, and here it turned out to be at 17.95 and 3/4, which you can see here. So this particular top, it was trying to really rally through, but as it turned out, that fractal was a great place to short for a quick scalp. So you could have shorted there on the confirmation, and you'd see prices had moved all the way back down to that same area again, to 17.92 and a quarter after that. So if this particular trading range lasted from actually Thursday at the close approximately, or just before the close, all the way through Friday morning. So this is a long trading range, and we're only looking at the 15-minute chart. I'm sure that if we switch to a 5-minute chart, we'd probably see a lot of other trading opportunities because of the fact that this was such a tight trading range. But there were opportunities to, in this case, to short at the top of this trading range, and then again, when it came back down to that same support zone, again we see here 17.93 and a quarter. You probably would want to wait until again you got down to 17.92 and a quarter. Boom, there's another opportunity to go long again. And then, depending on how aggressive you were, again we get up to 17.96 in this case, another fractal appears, and you could have shorted that for a quick scalp. There's another bottom here at 17.93. The market's obviously gradually ticking up, as you see, because we came from 17.92 and a quarter, and then we got over here to 17.92 and 3/4, and here we are now at 17.93. It's obviously attempting to break to the upside, but there were at least 2 or 3 great opportunities to capture scalp trades off the top and bottom of that trading range just by following the fractals, just by waiting for them to appear and then confirm, and then you enter. So that's one really good strategy, and I think it works well for trading range markets. It also works well when you have situations where you have double tops or double bottoms appearing, maybe over a larger trading range. But again, this is a long period of time here, and I think I will load a 5-minute chart just to get a feel for what that looks like in terms of the fractals on the 5 minutes, since we were looking at the 15. So here we are. Let's see, 21st. Okay, so here it is. I need to zoom in a little bit. You can see a little bit better here. But here's that same trading range, but now we're looking at it on a 5-minute chart. There you go. And so let's scroll back and see what happened for the 5-minute chart and those fractals. You'll kind of see some of the same things, some of the same behavior. I don't have to go all the way back, I guess, but for example, here was that the top there at 17.95 and 3/4. There were more trading opportunities within that trading range based on that 5-minute chart and the 5-minute fractals. There are quite a bit more, but again, you could have chosen to put a trend line down here, for example, or actually maybe we can do a horizontal line, probably would be better, and just said, okay, every time the market comes back here and I see a fractal, I am going to go long. And then you could have done the same on the top, and you get a pretty good idea that this continues to hit this price area and give you an opportunity to pick up some points. So there you have it. So that's one of the methods that you can use, and then the second approach is a with trend strategy. So the first approach is kind of counter trend. As you're within these trading ranges, you're looking for opportunity for the market to turn back and you're using the support and resistance zones. And I should say that you don't have to use the support and resistance zones that are this close. I mean, if you look at a larger time frame, sometimes you'll see that there's support and resistance from days gone by. So in fact, this area is resistance, most likely because we had some price action here on the 18th that served as a market top, and it's having a hard time breaking through there. So that's probably why we had this price behavior. So you don't have to use within that particular day. It really depends on your trading style. If you're a day trader, maybe you're only looking at that amount of data, or if you are a swing trader, perhaps you're looking over larger time frames or different days. But it kind of, I think this example gives you a good fundamental basis for how to trade against support and resistance zones using the fractal base approach. The second approach is a with trend strategy, and you'll notice that there are times when of course the market is trading within trading ranges, and then there are times when the market is trending very strong, and you'll start seeing a lot of fractals develop within those periods when the market is trending, but they may not be the best places to look for counter trend trades because the market is trading so strong. It's just going to keep rallying, and that's kind of what we saw here on the 21st. Maybe I should pull up a 10-minute chart perhaps. Let's take a look. Okay, so if we scroll back here into that time frame, you'll see the market was trending pretty strong. And so, when you're in a market that is trending strong like that, the fractal tops will appear and the fractal bottoms will appear, but they will appear as the market is resting, you could say, in order to continue its move. So the market is going to retrace a little bit. If it's trending strong, you'll see a fractal top appear. But if the market is incredibly strong, it's not going to, you cannot have the expectation that it's going to pull back all the way to, the beginning of that move, the F0, for example. The market is rallying. So instead of looking for a counter trend trade, you would want to look for a with trend trade. And in cases like this, you'd be looking for the F5 to be broken. So you're looking for you're waiting for the fractal to actually, your stop essentially would be on the other side of this fractal, and you're looking to enter the market with the trend once this fractal is broken. So here the price was 1783 3/4, as we can see here, and so you could have put a stop on the other side of that, or just waited for a 5-minute close above that. So we got some price movement back down here to 1782. Things continue to go up, and then we got up here to 1784, which is around the time shortly before the market opened on the 21st, and then little pullback, and then the market continued to rally. So this was an opportunity to get long and follow the trend throughout the day. So there you have two basic ways to trade with fractals. One, a counter trend strategy, and then secondly, a with trend strategy. One thing to keep in mind is that the markets can be a lot stronger or a lot weaker than they first appear. So just having a fractal by itself does not guarantee that the market will turn, and neither does a breakthrough of a prior confirmed fractal guarantee that the market will continue trending. So trading is all about probabilities. It's very similar to flipping a coin. You cannot guarantee heads or tails for that flip, but over many flips, if the coin is a fair coin, then you can feel confident that you're going to get about 50% heads and 50% tails. So likewise in the market, the fractals will give you an edge in your trading, but but they do not guarantee that the particular fractal that you are looking at will be the exact bottom or top. So, it's good to look for additional signs of weakness if you're looking to go short, or for additional signs of strength if you're looking to go long. And that's one of the reasons I presented the counter trend trading strategy, because when the market is moving back to a point of support or point of resistance, that along with the fractal kind of gives you a double level of confidence that maybe there's a bottom, an area of support here that's going to hold, or if it's a top, there may be you've got the fractal and you've got prior price action at that level. So that kind of gives you that double sense of confidence that the market may turn back down if it is a top. Another quick tip that you can apply is, in addition to waiting for the confirmation, you can also draw a trend line that will give you that additional confidence that the market is showing the strength or weakness for you to enter. Here's a great example, same time frame, and I'm going to go ahead and switch to a standard chart so you can see this, and I'm going to draw a trend line here. Oops, I got to zoom in a little bit to that area so we can see it better. Go here to trend line, and very simply just draw a trend line between F2 and F4, and you'll see that the price confirmed after F5, of course, but then it also broke through the trend line, and that was, you can say, an additional sign of strength that gave you the additional confidence that not only has there been a fractal bottom, but also prices were strong enough to move through the trend line, and that's a great entry. So, if you don't want to take the risk perhaps of trading right after the fractal confirmation, you can also draw a simple trend line, and after the fractal confirmation, wait for prices to break through, or put your stop on the other side of that trend line, and then go long based on that. Okay, so wanted to give you that video tutorial. Hopefully that was valuable to you. And if you have questions about the software, or you want to download a free trial, you can go to our website, FractalPlus.com, and download. Or if you want to ask us some questions, you can click on our contact link here, and we'd be happy to get back to you with some answers about how the software works. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.